Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Kamilah Rizqiyani with student number 82. I hope you won't get tired of seeing me again and again. But well, this is the last time. This is my last video to fulfill the final test of extensive reading on my 4th semester. I made it. After all the things I've been through, I finally made it. And I know you guys must be proud of yourself too. We have done all, guys. Can't wait to catch you guys up on the 5th semester. Without any further ado, let's start. This novel is titled Grace and Favour, written by Caroline Upcher and published by Orion Publishers in 1998. Wow, that's quite an old novel. Consisting of 418 pages with different points of view each chapter. So it's like in the first chapter is the first female character's POV, and the second chapter is the second female character's POV. So when it turned to the third chapter, it was back again to the first female character's POV, and so on. I hope you guys understand. Like the title, Grace and Favour were a pair of sisters from the Camel family who had never met in their entire lives. They were separated since Favour's birth, when Grace was 5 years old. Grace changed custody to a family named McIntyre, a neighbor of the Camel family, while Favour lived with Lucas, their father, believing the fact that his mother, Mrs. Camel, died after giving birth to Favour. In the other hand, Grace believed that their mother died because she killed herself. So, what the truth? Unfortunately, Lucas had passed away not long after Favour's marriage. Grace, the older sister, was a brilliant writer with a successful career. Exactly, she was an independent woman who can support herself. Besides, she had a caretaker for her house, Lou, and a woman named Linda, who is her daily companion female friend. Meanwhile, her younger sister, Favour, was a housewife. Frankly, her name was not Favour. It was a nickname that Grace made for her. Her real name was Pat Camel, but it turned out to be Pat Hardy due to her marriage to Angus Hardy. Simply and solely, her lovely husband. Unlike Grace, Pat lived in a simple, happy family. Her life was fulfilled with a husband who really understood her, and also her 2 children, Nat, 18, and Mary, 16, who were able to fulfill her days with laughter. The Hardy's family lived in London. The head of the family, Angus, or Gus for short, was a businessman, or actually he worked as a security businessman, where one day he was asked to replace the security alarm by a client who was out of town, and that would require him to go back and forth from London to Wales, before finally deciding to rent a large rental house with another family in Wales, so he didn't have to spend energy and money to return to London every day for the next 6 months. It turned out that Wales was the town where Grace and Favour used to live. To be more accurate, in the Upper Stone Farm. Favour was accompanying her husband there, invited her husband to visit the Upper Stone Farm area, and she hoped to see the camel's house, the place that used to be her home. Besides, Grace also visited the house at the same time. So they met by accident, even if only for a moment. From that brief encounter, Favour realized that the beautiful and elegant woman she had met was Grace, her older sister. However, Grace didn't realize that yet. Favour started following Grace like a stalker, went to her signing, even tried to reach her through her manager, but each time Favour missed the chance to let Grace know that they were sisters, she only wasted the opportunity. And actually, that made Angus felt a little irritated because Favour only paid attention to Grace, Grace, and Grace. They fought, but they made it through. Instead, Linda, Grace's friend, introduced Grace to a composer named Archie Berkeley. After all this time, Grace was not at all interested in having a relationship again because she had been betrayed and used by a young actor named Harris Fox to increase his fame. But there was one personality of Archie that Grace fell in love with, where it made Grace interested in him and then accepted Archie's invitation to dinner at their second accidental meeting. It was there that they started making love, when in fact Grace knew Archie had a wife and 2 children. Oh my god. Yeah, she accepted the fact that she was the woman Archie cheated on. Oh, how fool Grace was, right? One day, a husband and wife came to the Upper Stone Farm area with a car and met Favour. It turned out they were Biddy and David McIntyre, foster parents of Grace. Biddy had no idea that Favour was renting a house there. They visited that area in hoping to find information on Grace's whereabouts. For your information, Grace ran away from the McIntyre family house since 20 years ago before she started her career as a writer. After discovering Favour was Grace's younger sister and learning how much Favour cared and loved for his father Lucas, Biddy looked disappointed and walked away without giving any information about Grace and her mother that Favour wanted to know. But finally, Grace received a letter from Biddy who wanted to meet her and delivered the news that David, her stepfather, was dying. Grace finally met Biddy, but unluckily David had passed away. From there, Biddy told how evil Lucas' character was, who only let Grace be adopted by Biddy and David without ever asking Grace to come back. So Grace believed without knowing the reason why she was abandoned by Lucas. All she knew was that Lucas hated her and she hated him too. In fact, Mrs. Camel, the mother of Grace and Favour, indeed killed herself after finding out that Lucas had an affair sometime after Favour's birth. That encounter with Biddy also brought Grace to learn where her sister Favour's whereabouts, and she wanted to meet her. One day, due to business matters, Favour goes and also marry without Nat because he was busy with his girlfriend Sophia, went to New York where Grace was also there for work. Mary had gone on a day trip to the beach and fainted from exhaustion. She was lucky to be met by Grace and brought her to Grace's residence, followed by the presence of Favour. So Favour also went to Grace's residence. Finally, they met and realizing the fact that they were sisters. Yay! But bad news came to the Favour family. Mary was pregnant at the age of 16. Yup, married by accident and stuff. This answered Favor's question about weariness and uncontrollable emotions experienced by her daughter, by Mary. Not long after that, Grace was also faced with the fact that Archie was a super jerk. He slept with Grace's best friend, Margaret Harris. Margaret herself hardly communicated with Grace anymore due to have a big fight with Grace before. But what's more crazy was Margaret never felt guilty, even though she knew Archie was her best friend's lover. No, I mean his mistress. Yes, yeah, the relationship was really complicated. In the almost end, before Birdie's death, she wrote a letter to Grace saying that she had been lying all the time. She had deceived Grace. The fact that Lucas hated Grace and never wanted her was a lie. Lucas loved his first daughter very, very much. He even tried many times to the McKinter family's residence to take Grace back. He came all the time, hoping Birdie will let him see his lovely daughter. However, Birdie lied repeatedly to Lucas, claiming that Grace didn't want to see her father. While it was true that Lucas was rough with his wife back then, but his love and compassion for his two girls, his two daughters, was real. In fact, Birdie actually fell in love with Lucas. Yup. The reason she kept Grace in was because she wanted Lucas to continue to see her like she was happy every time Lucas came to her wanting to meet Grace. The imposter was Birdie at all. Birdie was the problem. She was kinda psycho, I guess. In the end, Mary's child would be adopted by Grace. Favour and Grace got back together and lived as sisters. Actually, there's a lot that I haven't told you guys yet. The story was very, very complicated but really interesting. You must read it. I apologize if there were still many shortcomings in my story retelling. I hope you guys understand and see you on the 5th semester. Thank you so much for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.